Have you ever heard about the word ownership traps when it comes to real estate? Yes, ownership trap. There's a word such as ownership trap when it comes to real estate. And that is what I want to make you understand in this video. So I want you to follow through as I break down what it means to fall in that circle of ownership traps when you're investing in real estate. Of course, my name is Kingsley Awa. I am your real estate consultant and land banking expert in Cameroon, and I help people, foreigners and diasporas, Cameroonians, to secure properties in Cameroon safely without necessarily entering into scams or, of course, having their money duped. So I want to show you what ownership trap really means and what you do to fall into that trap. So ownership trap are procedures that you skip and you pay your money without doing. So those are the procedures I want to show you, and follow keenly so that you will not do this mistake. The first thing you do is payment before verification. This particular thing lands you into what we call ownership trap, because you think that payment equals ownership. In real estate, that is not how it is. Because you pay does not mean you own that property. Before payment, you need to do verification. So if you pay before you verify, when I talk about verification, I'm talking about you verify if the person that wants to sell the land has the authority to sell the land, if the person has the right documents to sell that property. Of course, you need to verify before payment to prevent what we call ownership trap. The next thing I wrote here to share with you is trusting family consensus or family agreement. You want to buy a land, and then instead of working with professionals, you trust your family, your brother that knows nothing about land. You just, instead of using your brother to help you see how true that property is, you send the money to your brother, and because he said he has one property he wants to buy, you trust your brother over professionals. At the end of the day, you fall into what we call ownership trap, because you cannot account whether or not your brother has secured a property he told you he will secure. The next thing I wrote here is using wrong documentation to close a deal. Of course, people will use wrong documentation to close a deal. For example, if you pay for a particular property and what they give you is a sales agreement, and you're happy that you've owned that property, of course you're already in error, because a sales agreement does not necessitate or is not equal to ownership. What you need for maybe it is a customary land, what you need is a chief attestation so that you're recognized as the owner of that property locally. And of course, you start looking for your land title, which you can always apply. If you check my videos, you see the procedure I've sent in to apply for a legal land title. If you close the deal with the wrong documentation, you are not the owner, you are in the ownership trap. And the last thing I want to share with you is fear of FOMO. FOMO means fear of missing out. So you've seen a property and they say, oh, you have to send money now, and you just rush and send the money without verifying, without working with professionals. You just go and send the money because you're afraid that you might lose that opportunity. Lands are always available. It takes you to verify, it takes you to ask the right question, because we are talking about money here, and money is not picked, money is not plucked, money is worked for. So you need to make sure that to invest in such things, you need to get real consultants that will be able to help you secure your properties without you being scammed, of course, or without you having to deal with disputes. And that's why we're always here, so you can follow us to have more information and clarity about investing in real estate and properties in Cameroon. And of course, you can always get to us through the number on your screen. We can always secure properties for you that are legally backed, value appreciating, and of course, you can always get to us if you get to people and you sense that what they are doing is not legal, so that we can guide you properly. Of course, I remain your real estate consultant, Kingsley Awa, and see you in the next video.